In today's video, we will install Microsoft 365 hacking tool AAD Internals. And even though it's called AAD Internals, this tool remains very valuable. Don't let the naming deceive you. Just because Microsoft renamed Azure AD to Microsoft Entra ID, it doesn't mean this tool is outdated. It's actually a very versatile tool with a wide range of capabilities, including reconnaissance, defense evasion, and privilege escalation. Some of these techniques have been even demonstrated at Black Hat conferences. So keep watching if you want to know how to install this tool and gain some initial information during pen testing. We will start on this official page called AAD Internals. And as the name suggests, this tool is quite older than you would expect. It was created before Microsoft changed the Azure AD to Microsoft Entra ID. And it goes back to, I believe, 2020. It was first demonstrated on some conference. But it doesn't mean you cannot use it. Actually, they keep releasing new features. And it's still usable because on the background it will use Microsoft API, which does change over time, but the team behind this tool keeps rolling out the updates, so you have nothing to worry about. It's still working. Especially all the kudos to the original creator, Nestori. He created this tool from the scratch. Actually, you can follow him on on X. I like this name, Dr. Azure AD. Also outdated, but very awesome guy. You will find incredible resources from him. So there are also others people who contributed to this, so all kudos to them. We will use this tool in today's video and see what we can get when we are talking about initial reconnaissance. But before we dive into that, let's see what are the other resources available on the official documentation page. Let's move to the documentation section and see what is available to us. And as you can see, it was updated on 30th of July 2024. That's not even 14 days ago since I'm recording this video. So they keep adding stuff. It's incredible. There are instructions how to use it, about the tool, the version, how it works on the background. You can read all about it. But more importantly, there are all the commands that you could use with this tool and how you can use them and what information would be provided to you. And as I have this button, I can scroll down and down. There are tons of commands, tons of instructions, all provided to you. So as you can imagine, it's quite impossible to go through all of them. But we will pick some which are very valuable to you if you are performing initial reconnaissance without any previous information during your pen testing. And actually, you can start on this website if you move to the OSINT section. So let me scroll down a little bit and let's see what we have here. This is an open source intelligence OSINT tool. It will extract openly available information for given tenant. This tool is using APIs mentioned in my previous blog post, and this will return only 21st domains. If you want the complete recon information, please use AAD Internals, which we will do later. And it wants us to use the tenant ID, domain name, user email, or object ID. Okay, so let's see. Let's provide it with some information. Lately we had quite huge outage from CrowdStrike, so let's see if we can find anything about them. Let's get the information. They couldn't even have the Azure cloud, but in this case here they have something available. I guess the tenant brand is CrowdStrike. We have the tenant ID. You have the information if the single sign-on is enabled or disabled, and you will be also provided with verified domains and their setup. Unfortunately, even the domains list is not complete, or at least the information is not complete. You can get much more information with the PowerShell module. Alright, so let's install this PowerShell module and see what we can get. I believe you don't need any prerequisites. All you need is PowerShell. My PowerShell version is... didn't want to do that. Yes, version table. My PowerShell version is 7.4. So just be aware of that you need up-to-date PowerShell version. And after that, all you need to do is call the module, install module, AAD Internals, and press enter. I already have this module installed, so it will do basically nothing for me, but for you, you might take a while for it to install. Actually, it's asking me if I trust this repository. I'm gonna say A for yes to all. And okay, it's telling me that it's already installed. That's all good. Once you have it installed, another command that you need to run is called import module AAD internals. So it will get loaded, and after that we can use it. The first information we saw was tenant ID, right? So there is a command specifically for this. You call get AAD int, and I believe it's tenant ID, and specify the domain. So the domain could be, for example, cisco.com, and we will run this. We will get the tenant ID for the Cisco. And if you don't know what tenant ID is, basically it's a unique identifier for each organization that have a cloud environment inside Azure. And it will allow you to access all the resources. All the resources have this unique tenant ID link to them. So this could potentially help you during your pen testing. You could, for example, check on GitHub if there is anything exposed for this specific tenant ID. Maybe some credentials. Some employee might have worked on something and leave the credentials with the tenant ID in their code. And if you think this one happened to the companies that have established cybersecurity, well, unfortunately, you are wrong. Look at this article, for example. You don't have to go far. Actually, Microsoft have been exposed to sensitive login credentials to the company's own infrastructure on GitHub. And if we scroll down, or actually if I search for tenant, and here it is. Okay, all of these were credentials for Azure servers. Azure is Microsoft Cloud Computer Service, we know that, and is similar to Amazon Web Services. All of the exposed credentials were associated with an official Microsoft tenant ID, a tenant ID, and we already know that. So you could take this tenant ID for any company that you are performing your pen testing and see maybe on GitHub, maybe somewhere else, if you can find some possibly interesting information. But as you saw, we could get much more information besides the tenant ID. So another command that could be very interesting to you and very useful is to get all the domains and all the information about them, especially if you are looking to launch some phishing attack. This information, again, you can call get AAD int tenant, and this time you will specify the domains. Again, you can specify which domain, so we can go again with Cisco and press enter, and this time we got just one domain. So let's see, I will replace it with something else. Maybe CompTIA? I don't think I will find anything, really. Okay, I was wrong. So we got much more. We have CompTIA, IATP org, and although AAD Internals has a bunch of different commands that you could possibly use, at the end of the day, there is one which will combine a bunch of them together and give you comprehensive information. That way you can save some time. So how can you run this command? Well, this time we will use invoke, and we will specify the AAD int Recon as outsider, and now we will specify the domain name. We can go again with the comptia.com, and we want this be formatted in the format that is easily readable. Let's press enter. Now it will scan all the domains and provide you with some additional information as well. For me, it's finished. So let's go all the way up here and see what kind of information was provided to us. So first of all, we have the tenant brand, which is CompTIA, right? The tenant name, we have the tenant ID, which we would get from the previous command as well. But now we have also the information about the region and if the desktop single sign-on is enabled or disabled. After that, we can see all the information about the domains and also some additional information about their settings. So you can use this. We can see information about the DNS, MX, SPF, DMARC, and so on. And if you are not sure what each of these shortcut means, you can always Google. So for example, DMARC will help email administrators to prevent hackers and other attackers from spoofing their organization and domain. It will basically give the receiver additional information which he can use to validate if this is really a legitimate email or not. And that's everything I wanted to show you during this introduction video to AAD Internals. Just keep in mind that we are getting some basic information. Everything is freely available. But once you gain initial access, you could do more interesting stuff with this tool, such as privilege escalation. So let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video, and I will make second part covering AAD internals in more depth.